Hello everyone, this is Rudy Briksza with GatheringMagic.com. I am going to Grand Prix DC sometime pretty soon, and so because of that, I'm going to want to learn a little bit of Limited. Now, anybody who's really followed my less than storied career knows that I'm not really a Limited guy. That's for sure. I'm not really a Limited guy. I don't really play very often. Yeah, so Limited is definitely a weak point for me. So we're going to go on this journey together. You can tell me in the comments or on YouTube, or you can message me and tweet at me and tell me how bad I am and all the things that I did wrong. And I'll sit here and I'll listen to it. Because I want to learn a little bit. So let's go on this journey. Let's try. Let's hopefully I can learn a little bit together. And this pack is actually really strong. I think Shalai is powerful all-star, especially in Standard. Eldest Reborn seems like it'd be pretty solid. Sentinel, the Pearl Trident, looks really interesting. Looks like we can play a lot of cool cards with that. Tiana, Ship's Caretaker. Doesn't look like that's the kind of card that I want, though. 5-mana Flying seems good. Dub is kind of nice. Call the Cavalry is nice. But we're going to take Shalai, because Shalai is just going to win the game, you know? Especially if it lives. In this pack, there's some interesting cards in here. I like Seal Away a lot. Seal Away pairs really well as just one of the best removal spells. It looks like our opponent took their rare, so you know, it's pretty good. We can also take Shivan Fire. Shivan Fire is a pretty good removal spell as well. Obviously not as good as Seal Away. Seal Away also not as good against Vigilance creatures, but there are definitely a lot of big idiots that I want to nab. So I think I'm gonna take Seal Away. Seal Away keeps me in white and is a really powerful removal spell. So pretty happy to nab that. All right, what do we have in this pack? And keep in mind, this is my first draft, so I have no idea what most of these cards are. So we're gonna be looking at them for the first time for a little bit. 4-mana 3/2 lifelink. All right, this seems pretty interesting. Baloth Gorger is just a 4-mana 4/4 that can be a 7/7. I kind of like that card. 6-mana 5/5 with Trample doesn't seem very exciting. Soul Salvage seems pretty good. Just being able to rebuy here, but I think I'm not sure if I want to play in black yet. Davant Trapper. Okay, well, there definitely could potentially be a lot of historic spells that we could get, and if we do, then this card's pretty good. Keeps us in white, doesn't connect us to a second color. This is just a 3/4 flyer where they can't really target anything. Is pretty solid. You know, we're not sure if though we don't necessarily need the green though. All right, what do we got here? Sentinel, the Pearl Trident. It's pretty good as a way to just protect our creatures. Glider doesn't seem great, but pairs well with our Trapper. Ancient Animus. Fight spells are generally pretty good. Putting a 1/1 counter on target legendary creature you control seems pretty reasonable as well. I think I might take the Sentinel, the Pearl Trident. Blue-White Flyers seems like it could be a pretty good thing, and being able to save our Shalai at instant speed or potentially playing something else might be okay. So I think I'm going to try the Sentinel and see how it pans out. It might be just completely right to take Ancient Animus here, stick in green, but I think I want to try this. All right, what do we got here? Call the Cavalry is pretty nice. Just 4 mana, put 2/2/2s into play. None of these other cards are very exciting. The 6 mana 4/5 with Hexproof might be okay, but not really excited about that card. So we're gonna take it. It looks like white is pretty open. Gift of the Growth is pretty good. Dub's pretty good. I think I'm gonna take Dub here. Dub just seems like a solid card. Gift of the Growth seems okay as well, but we're not sure if we want to be in green just yet. And this card seems like it'll be pretty easy to pick up at another point in time if that's something that I'm interested in. All right, what do we got here? Here's an interesting pack because we don't really have anything that's great here. Keldon Overseer seems like it could be pretty interesting, just being able to steal something. Crozen Druid, even if we're in green, I don't know if this is really a card that I'm going to want anyway, so I'm going to take this Keldon Overseer and we'll go from there. What do we got from here? Befuddle doesn't seem great. Snapper doesn't seem great. Shepherd actually seems pretty reasonable. Having a bunch of tokens also seems like it could be good with Shalai. So maybe this is something that I want. Plus putting a couple bodies into play is never bad. As I said, Gift of the Growth looks like something that we might be able to get back. Looks like we got another dub, another elephant. We could get Homerid Explorer. Not really sure if I want any of these cards. Not sure how good dub is going to be. Let's take the Explorer in case I do go into blue. I can also take Keldon Overseer in case I wanna stick to red. But we already have one, so probably don't need a second one. That's for sure. Alright, Mammoth Spider seems like an alright card. I mean, again, we're kind of in this weird spot where we're not sure what our second color is going to be just yet, but we do have some powerful cards if that's something that we do want to do. I guess I'll take Corrosive Ooze. Doesn't seem terrible. Healing Grace doesn't seem great. Demonic Vigor doesn't seem great. Drudge Sentinel doesn't seem great. I guess I'll just take this Vigor just in case. But definitely not excited about any of these last few picks. But as of this moment, you know, we're kind of open. Have a lot of different options for pairing, depending on what we open in the next couple of packs. Rescue actually doesn't seem terrible. Being able to just save a creature of ours at instant speed, being able to play Shalai with like a rescue for a removal spell seems like it actually could be pretty reasonable. And if we get some cards with a lot of value, then maybe that's something that we want. The good old basic island. Maybe that's a sign. The sign to stay in blue. All right. Well, I guess as far as rares go, pretty happy with what we're opening. Can't really go wrong with Lyra Dawnbringer, you know. So I'm gonna definitely go ahead and snap that off. I can't imagine there's anything else that I would want to even remotely consider in that pack. This is pretty good for a first draft, you know. Conveniently enough, Lyra pumps my Shalai. That's a big brain play right there. Adamant Will is a great removal spell. Well, great protection spell, I should say, but also can potentially double as a removal spell. So I'm pretty happy to take a card like this, that's for sure. It looks like we're pretty open as far as what we're going to play. I think I'm leaning towards green just because Shalai is going to like pair well when we have a bunch of green mana in our deck and green creatures, but I wouldn't be opposed to playing some powerful blue cards. All right, looks like I'm back. We definitely lost a couple of good picks, I would have to say, if I had to take a guess here. Well, it looks like we actually only lost like one. And Fall of the Thrawn is not a great card, but it is kind of interesting. It might actually be something that we would want to play, especially if we're far ahead. I'm going to take Ancient Animus here. Guess I'm going to take Llanowar Envoy. This is a quite an unfortunate series of events, but I think I'll be able to get us back in. Hopefully. Adamant Will is a nice card for sure. It's definitely a little awkward based on how this played out, and definitely lost a little bit of value there. Got two forced picks between Fall of the Thrawn and Get 2 Chronicler, and I'm not sure Fall of the Thrawn is even playable, but maybe it is. Maybe if we play against a slow deck and we put an Angel into play followed by Fall of the Thrawn, then the game will be very, very over. That being said, it's not something that I'm looking forward to playing at the moment. Not going to get any value out of that one. Hopefully I don't get too unfortunate, but that is sometimes, you know, the downside to playing Magic Online is, or any program really, sometimes your game just might randomly crash. Well, I don't mind Adventurous Impulse. Adventurous Impulse is kind of an interesting pickup. It might actually be pretty reasonable, you know, helping us find our big bombs in the mid to late game. I think this is mostly okay. I'm actually kind of interested in Fall of the Thrawn. Not that I would take it, I think, normally, but it's definitely a card that I would consider, potentially consider. It's definitely a card that I might consider maybe in a sealed format, possibly, where it's going to be even slower. Because I'm not really sure how slow this this format is quite yet, and because I'm not sure of how slow it's going to be, I don't want to try and play something that play something that might not be great, and try and play this and get blown out by everything my opponent's doing. Ooh, these are some powerful cards. Right of the Belzenok seems pretty good. Unfortunately, I'm not in black. If I was, this is a pretty powerful pack. Arvad is pretty good. Right is pretty insane. Unfortunately, there's not really anything I can do with that. I think I'm just going to be taking Benalish Honor Guard here. I already have a couple Adamant Wills. We just really want more creatures at this point. We do only have 8. I really would like to take this card, but I don't think we're really going to be able to move into black at this point, and I don't want to try and force playing that one. We already have some alright stuff going on, so I'm just going to take this Benalish Honor Guard, and hope that we're going to pick up some more creatures over the time. Chainer's Torment is interesting. Adamant Will. Not really a lot of green or white creatures in the pack. It's kind of unfortunate, really, to be honest. I might take Todd Voya here, because this card seems obscenely powerful, and I mean, there's Hinterland Harbor here. It's too bad these are not in the same pack. In the last pack, if I saw Hinterland Harbor, I might have taken it over some random card, because, you know, you never know. I kind of wish I could take both of these cards and just skip my next pack. But I guess I'm going to take the Hinterland Harbor in case I see another one of these. Daring Archaeologist, maybe turn target artifact. That doesn't seem great. We don't have any artifacts here. I do have a Trapper. I'm going to take this Trapper here. Another creature, another powerful creature if we can get some historic spells. We don't really have too many at the moment, but we definitely get some. Shanna, Sisay's Legacy is awesome here, especially with if we're going to get a bunch of creatures. It also triggers Trapper. So I'm pretty happy to pick up that card here. There's just another Trapper, Adventurous Impulse. If we were playing blue, Blink of an Eye would be awesome here, but I don't really think there's too much to do. I'm just going to take the Trapper just in case. I just would rather have a bunch of creatures at this point. As many creatures as possible. Baloth Gorger seems like it could be very good. Sanctum Spirit also seems like it could be good. Not really excited about the discard. Maybe just want a big body. Don't mind. This is some interesting things. I think I might take Invoke the Divine because it's an interesting sideboard card, and I don't really think we are going to want any of these creatures. Let's see, Dub. Saproling Migration, perfect. This is actually exactly the kind of card that I was looking for. Pairs really well with, now that we have Shanna, but it pairs really well with Shalai. So this is definitely a card that I'm pretty excited to have in my deck. I don't really think there's anything really exciting here. I think I'm going to take Sparring Construct, and Sparring Construct is a cheap way to turn on our Trappers. I think I'm okay having one of those. I don't think we're going to need all of these removal spells. We already have a decent amount here, and this being an artifact, turning on Trapper is pretty nice. I don't think the other half of this is going to be extremely relevant. Well, this didn't turn out terrible, considering that we kind of missed a couple land drops. It's possible that I might want to play Fall of the Thrawn in this deck, just because it looks like we're a little slow and we're going to be building up, but obviously it doesn't really work well when we want to get 6 mana for Shalai. Let's see, what do we have here? Nothing great, nothing exciting. Just going to take this Chainer's Torment, I guess. Not really anything else I want. Already have plenty of everything else. Guess I'll take Healing Grace. I think at this point we're just kind of taking cards at random at this point. And it just looks like basically more or less we're just kind of taking cards at random. Not really too much. White kind of dried up a little bit. Adventurous Impulse actually seems not terrible. I don't mind having one of those. Don't mind playing a way to make sure that we hit all our land drops and find our creatures. I'm not sure how good this is, so I'm kind of interested in checking it out. All right, that's a pretty good place to be in. So I think I'm okay with how this kind of came out. It's definitely not as good as it could have been. We did, of course, crash somewhere down the line, and that made life a little bit awkward. So I do apologize to everyone who kind of saw that, but fortunately, I think our draft kind of came out, and we have some incredibly powerful cards at our top end between Shalai and Lyra. So should be okay, you know, even though our deck kind of didn't really come together. Corrosive Ooze doesn't seem great. Trapper doesn't seem great on its own. I feel like mostly we're just kind of sitting around and waiting to get to our big threats here in order to win the game. So I don't actually like this deck very much, but our top end is kind of unbeatable. So pretty happy with that at least. So I guess we're going to try this, see how it turns out. Hopefully it'll be all right. Let me know in the comments, you know, if there's, you know, something else you would have drafted if you saw it, or maybe you wanted to go a different direction. So let me know in the comments or on YouTube what you think, and I'll be sure to check that out, because as I said, I would really like to learn Limited more, and especially since I'm going to DC, it means I'm going to have to put in a lot of work and effort. So any help I could get would be fantastic. And we'll be back for round one in just a little bit. Rudy Briksza here, GatheringMagic.com, back here for round number one of our draft, and I'm pretty reasonably happy with this hand. I have something to do for the first couple of turns, something to do on turn one, which is kind of nice. Have plenty of mana, so just really need creatures, and again, we're just kind of looking for to make sure that we do something with our mana every turn, realistically. Being on the play is kind of nice. Don't mind that. We did put a bunch of cards to the bottom of our library that are not that bad. And Dub here is actually kind of nice. It might be a great way for us to just kind of take over the game immediately. You know, especially if our opponent doesn't have a removal spell or something here. Just a 4/4 on turn 3, it just might be more than good enough to kind of just take over the game. Deep Freeze. Okay, well, the interesting part about Deep Freeze is it doesn't change the fact that we still have +2/+2 on it. Oh, it's a defender. Right. I didn't realize that. Oh, that card is really good. That is quite unfortunate, but we do have a 2/6 defender, and that's kind of nice. No real reason for us to really do much, but I'm going to try and keep the pressure on, go ahead and attack here. If our opponent wants to trade, I'm okay with that. If they don't want to trade, we still have a 2/6 blocker. So, pretty good spot, and next turn we can put 4 tokens into play. Ooh, a flyer. A flyer is pretty good here. That's good. Don't really have anything to really defend from that at the moment. Using Deep Freeze on here is pretty nice, since it means if we draw like Shalai or Lyra here, we're probably going to use it to win the game. Alright, well, that is unfortunate, but the good news is if we draw any of our big creatures right now, we're going to be in a fantastic position, to say the least. All I want to do is just draw Shalai all the time. If I draw Shalai right here, oh, especially if my opponent doesn't have an answer, the game is just very over. Uh-oh. What is this? Hopefully this isn't like the flight enchantment on this thing, because taking 7 a turn is pretty rough, especially if they play another creature that can block effectively. What is this? 1 damage to each creature without flying. That's pretty good. Oh no. Oh, that's so brutal. This is a great way to get rid of everything that I have going. But that's kind of nice. I do get to tap this Keldon Marauder. Start getting in here. I am winning the race, but not by much. Not by much. This is quite unfortunate because next turn, my opponent wants to sacrifice a mountain. They can clear up everything but my non-defender and keep this Cloud Treader Sphinx getting in. First Eruption is an interesting card. I don't know how good it actually is, but I guess if your opponent is playing a bunch of tokens, it's very good. And it's definitely great there, that's for sure. But at this point, I'm just kind of hoping to draw one of our big bombs. Okay, Rampaging Cyclops, pretty solid card. It's quite unfortunate. We're going to have to just kind of pass here and let our opponent go at it. There's not really too much I can do. Just kind of have to pass and hope we draw one of our big threats at some point in time to be able to get this game going. It looks like this is a trade right here if my opponent does want to offer it, and I think I would take it if they did. We're very far behind at this point. Alright, that is a lot of spells from our opponent. It's unfortunate this Shanna is only going to be a 2/2 for now, but hopefully I'm able to draw something relevant in the next couple of turns. Otherwise, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble from this 3/4 here. Alright. Well, now our Shanna's starting to get a tiny bit bigger, but still can't really attack and still under a ton of pressure at the moment. So we're really hoping that I'm able to draw some creature at some point, like Lyra, and hopefully Lyra can block and our opponent doesn't have just Counterspell or Removal Spell, which if they're just kind of like playing lands and passing, it's pretty likely that that's what the deal is. Flyers are definitely pretty good here. It's making me really regret that I don't have the 3/2 with lifelink. Could also draw Seal Away. Do have 1 Seal Away here. Llanowar Envoy. I guess I'm going to play it out. It's going to make my Shanna bigger here. It's definitely not a great position to be in, to say the least. We are under quite the downside right here. Opponent is going to attack us down to 2, and we're going to need to draw exactly either a removal spell or a creature to block, and for our opponent to also have nothing, which is definitely a tall order, to say the least. Alright, well that's a nice one. We do have a 3/5 with reach. It's pretty good at blocking, so if our opponent has a counter spell here, we are dead. Syncopate. Okay, so our opponent has Syncopate in their deck, so that is very important for us to play around. I don't really think there's anything that could have been done there, to say the least. It was just not a good spot to be in. Not a good spot to be in at all. So I don't really think there's anything here that we're going to want to board in. Fall of the Thron is not going to be great. Our opponent is pretty good at playing a tempo game. Arbor Armorant doesn't seem great either. We don't know how many flyers our opponent has. We did only see 1. I think we're going to basically resubmit the same deck. See how that plays out. Things did go good for a little bit, but we did fall apart at the end. Hopefully this Adventurous Impulse here can help us find a Plains. It's really what I'm looking for. It's definitely a plains off this. Alright, well, we got either a land or Shanna. And I think based on our hand, I might need the land. So I'm going to go ahead and take the land here. It's quite unfortunate to be such an awkward 3, but I think we might be okay. Unfortunately, drew another forest. Not ideal with all the white cards in our hand. So hopefully I draw plains at some point in time, and I'm able to start casting my spells. 3-1's pretty good. We drew Lyra, so if I ever draw plains, we're going to be in a really good spot here. Now, obviously, we need to draw multiple plains, but we'll start with one for now. Just going to look at my deck quick. Oh, I guess I can't. Quite unfortunate. We're going to be taking a lot of damage here over the next few turns if I do not find a white source right here. Magic Online, I have no blockers available to block. Alright, that is pretty unfortunate. Did not draw a white source there off our Adventurous Impulse, but we have put 4 cards on the bottom that are non-plains. So I think I might be okay for a minute, especially with Seal Away in hand. If I could draw a plains right here, I will be in a great spot. All right, plains. No, that's pretty bad for me. I actually don't have any outs here. That's quite unfortunate. GG's to my opponent. Unfortunately, we're not able to find a white source by 6 turns, and we looked at an extra 6 cards of our deck, and we were not able to find a white source. Hey everyone, Rudy Briksza here, GatheringMagic.com, back for our match number 2. Match number 1 unfortunately did not go great. Kind of flooded out a tiny bit and then failed to find a white source and drew only white cards. That was unfortunate. I'm going to mulligan this hand. It doesn't really do a lot. Going to have to mulligan to 5. This hand is actually pretty reasonable. There's a Shalai too. Shalai is definitely a card I want. It does mean that I'm saving this Adventurous Impulse because I already do want that card that's on top. Oh, Zulfrin Void. One is also on a mulligan. Looks like they put a card to the bottom and then put another card to the bottom as well. Hopefully I'm able to draw a land this turn to play Trapper. That would be ideal. Nope. Well, hopefully Adventurous Impulse can find us a land. It did. Awesome. I'm going to take a forest here because it's going to take us 2 forests to activate Shalai at some point in time. So I'm going to make sure that that happens. Power Stone Shard. Alright, I'm going to start playing out all my creatures and turning creatures sideways until something happens here. Can't really do too much else. But going Trapper into Shalai, tapping a bunch of creatures might be really nice, to say the least. So we are going to see here, it looks like our opponent, maybe he's playing Mono Black. Maybe they're playing Mono Black Control. It would be kind of interesting. Alright, Rite of the Belzenok is definitely a great card, to say the least. To say the least here. I'm going to cast Shalai here, I think, because I want to get my flyers down as soon as I can. I don't know what happened there, but Moto definitely spazzed on me just a tiny bit. Again, I do have to keep the pressure up, so this doesn't do a great job. Opponent is going to have a reasonable amount of creatures, and it looks like they have a plains here. So it looks like they're playing black and white. That's kind of good to know. They have to have something expensive in their deck. I can't imagine they're playing Power Stone Shard for no reason. Hopefully, really want the next 2 draw steps to be lands, so I could play these 2 next turn, and then the turn after I could start activating Shalai. Well, that's 2 Power Stone Shards. There's a lot. Guardians of the Koilos. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Make a bunch of clerics and then bounce it back to your hand. I like that. And untap, make even more clerics. Alright, well, that is not a bad one to have here at all. I think we're going to want to put a counter here and kill the Guardians. And then this way we can keep up the pressure. Our opponent can jump for a little bit, but we are going to start winning in the air at some point in time. And since there's going to be a few turns before the 6/6 demon comes online, all we have to do is just basically dodge a removal spell for a little bit. This is a pretty nice position to be in, as long as we don't get, I guess, Wrath. I don't think there is a Wrath in the format. I think there's a Urza's Ruinous Blast, but that's non-legendary permanence, so it seems pretty bad against these Power Stone Shards, Shalai and Shanna. Being able to get rid of this this blocker made life a little bit easier, that's for sure. It is possible that I'm not supposed to attack with Shalai here in case my opponent has Seal Away. If they do have Seal Away here, that is going to be pretty bad for me, because they can seal away this and play the enchantment again. So also my opponent's in survival mode now. Trying to get this to wait. Aven Sentry. Okay, it's a pretty solid card here for sure. Because of Shanna getting bigger with creatures, that's the only reason I'm playing my creatures pre-combat. I think our opponent here is just going to have to chump a lot over the next couple of turns. So they are not in a good position. They're falling farther and farther behind. So I think their goal is to survive as long as possible. And I'm okay if they make a 6/6 and I just don't attack, and they have to keep sacrificing creatures every turn as well. My opponent is at 6, so we're in a pretty good spot here, and if I draw one of my other legendary creature or legendary historic spells, I mean, then I'll be able to activate Trapper and trap a bunch of creatures. The best draw is the 1 mana artifact that I put into play, or put into my deck, because I can play this Trapper, play that, tap all three of my opponent's creatures, and just kill them. But otherwise, they're still in a pretty good position. They do only have 3 blockers. So they are taking 6 at the moment without any removal spell or creature. It's a pretty good spot to be in. I like that I was able to kind of get on board pretty quick. Ooh, Aven Sentry is now at 5/2 first strike. That is annoying. Seal Away, okay. I don't think that counts as a thing. I am a little worried here of what my opponent might do, so I think I'm just going to attack with everybody that isn't Shalai. Is my opponent has a removal spell for my creatures. They're not really going to be able to make use out of it because I'm not attacking with Shalai. And I'm still going to get in for a lot of damage here. I have a 6/6. It's pretty solid. My opponent has to block everything here. They're going to take 3/3. And a pretty good spot. Can't really lose anyway. I think the only way that we might have been in trouble otherwise is by attacking with Shalai and getting like blown out by something like block your Shalai, first strike damage, it dies, seal away, you know, something else. You know, then just like chump or like chump one other creature then. Just wanted to, I guess, play it safe rather than sorry. I do think my opponent is essentially dead on board, so they only have 2 cards in hand. I'm not sure exactly what there is. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that they were going to cast what was in their hand, because if my opponent did cast, I was going to get to see a little more of their deck, and I would have liked that. Fall of the Thrawn doesn't seem great. Invoke the Divine actually seems pretty reasonable. And I'm not sure if there's really anything else I'm going to want here. I don't think anything else is really necessary. I'm not sure what I'm going to cut. Probably this Envoy. Envoy doesn't seem very good here. Seems like it's doesn't match up well with anything that my opponent is doing. So I think I'm gonna cut that. I'd rather have the trappers in play in case I have one of my few ways to trigger it. I really wish I had some more legendary creatures, maybe an equipment. Maybe I'm supposed to value equipment a little more when I have trapper in my deck. It's possible that my draft did go a little weird because I was kind of trying to build this green-white creature-ish deck, but I didn't really pay attention to, some of the synergies that I had with anything. Don't see what my opponent does, but I do like having Invoke in case I can, tag the 6/6 demon before it gets going anywhere. This hand's okay. We are in the draw. I do have an Adventurous Impulse, so I feel pretty confident about being able to draw out of where I'm at. Drawing another land here means I can almost assuredly just get a creature. I'm going to get Shanna here. Losing Seal Away kind of sucks. It seems like Seal Away might be a very good card here at some point in time. But Shanna plus... oh no, I clicked a forest. I'm a fool. I'm quite the fool. Too busy talking, not enough playing. Shanna's nice. Can't really be targeted by, abilities. Can be targeted by a removal spell, but not abilities. It's 2/3. I'm okay with attacking. I will draw a free card, to say the least. Eventually, Shanna's going to get out of hand. Ooh, there's the right. That's pretty good. Putting the Shalai in play is going to be pretty good. Now my Shanna has hexproof in addition to having minor hexproof. The 6/6 is going to be kind of scary, but I could pair Adamant Will with Ancient Animus to kill it, and that's kind of nice. So as long as I can dodge a removal spell on my Shalai here, I'll be in an okay position. We also have the ability to play Trapper and start putting a bunch of counters on these two creatures and making them much bigger than any 6/6 will ever be. But I do obviously regret not putting my Shanna into play on turn 2. Ooh, Guardians of the Koilos. I do like this combo. Just putting a bunch of clerics into play means that eventually you're going to be in a great spot. I think I'm just going to play Mammoth Spider here. I think that's possibly my best way. I could also just play Davenant Trapper and keep up an Adamant Will, but we can definitely do that next turn as well. I'm going to get in here while Shalai still can. Now that we have a 3/5, I'm going to be in a pretty good spot to be able to block the 4/4 or the 2/3. If I had to guess what my opponent's play is going to be, his play pattern is just going to be play their enchantment and pass Power Stone Shard. It looks like our opponent is just trying to go pretty big and put a lot of creatures into play and make use out of this right. It is a lot of clerics. It's a lot of clerics. I'm going to go ahead and block with my 3/5. I think my opponent was trying to see if I would double block. I will not. I will not. I'm going to go ahead and keep attacking with Shalai here. I actually could attack with Shanna this turn now, since not really worried about attacking to a 4/4 or whatever. My opponent wants to block and give me a card here. I'm okay with that. They want to trade off a cleric. I'm okay with that. We're starting to get to a point where next turn activating Shalai is going to be pretty good. Pretty good to say the least. And we still have another turn to draw Invoke the Divine and just invoke this, so my opponent just has a bunch of miserable O1s. Alright. I do like my opponent's deck. My opponent's deck is kind of cool. I like a lot of what they're doing. They're playing a lot of value, and I'm a big fan of value. Oh, Eviscerate. All right. Well, It's a good thing that I have my Adamant Will this turn. Alright. So, this turn I have a couple options. I have 7 mana now, so I can play both of the creatures in my hand, and then next turn I could start putting counters on. I could start just putting counters on my creatures this turn because it means Ancient Animus will start getting value, and I think I'm just going to do that. I think I'm just going to start putting counters on all of my creatures, and I think I'm going to try and race a little bit. I'm at a point where if I do draw one of my few other historic spells, I do have a Lyra, and I do have the 1 mana artifact. So if I draw either of those, this Trapper will be able to tap the demon and let me kill my opponent. Even Sentry, okay, it's pretty good. I don't think my opponent can really attack here. Ooh, and that's nice. This means that I'm going to get to put a bunch of counters on all my creatures, and I'm going to be able to leave up Ancient Animus. I'm just going to go ahead and I think I'm going to kill this demon. Shanna has hexproof in multiple ways, so should be okay unless Shalai dies here. All right, let's go ahead and get in with Shalai now. Okay, cool. That was pretty fortunate that my opponent did not have a removal spell here. Eviscerate is a sorcery. I don't know if there's maybe an instant black one. I think there's the -5/-5. That would have been kind of devastating. Just sacrifice a creature, make this -5/-5, and then they would just trade, which is okay. Obviously, Shanna dying is unfortunate, but I still have a 5/6 in play, a 5/7 and a 5, or a 5/6 and a 5/7. Going to be pretty good to say the least, and I do like the way this game played out. Interesting notes is looks like my opponent was trying to be super synergistic, but it didn't look like they had a lot of interaction. And it looks like interaction might be super important. Based on the last 2 games, I really wish that I had just a ton of different ways to interact overall. I wish I had more ways to trigger Trapper. I think this card might be great if you are able to activate it, you know, like every couple of turns, but since I wasn't really able to do that, the card seems kind of weak so far. 3 mana, 3/2 is like always fine, but it's definitely not great. So I'll be back with our number 3 in just a bit. Hey everyone, Rudy Briksza here, back for my final match in my draft league. We're currently 1-1, and I'm going to be on the play here, so I'm going to be pretty okay with what's going on. I'm going to lead off with this Sparring Construct, I think, because I want to try and give myself a turn to draw a land before I cast Impulse. I was able to find it, so that is kind of nice. I don't have a 2 here, so I'm going to cast Impulse and look for something here. I might look for a 4th land. It looks like those are my only options, is lands. So I don't mind taking that card there. Next turn I'm going to get Trapper. Turn after I'm going to get Call the Cavalry. I'm going to play my creature post-combat in case my opponent has a removal spell. They'll have to respond. It's actually wrong. I actually should have attacked first, gotten in the damage assuredly, and then played my creature. But we're in a pretty good spot right here. We do have Seal Away and Lyra. Lyra's probably going to be pretty hard for my opponent to beat, to say the least. Let's see. I think I'm just going to go ahead and attack with my Sparring Construct here. I don't really want to trade my Trapper just yet. I don't mind if my Trapper gets big here. I doubt my opponent's going to trade, more or less, is what I'm getting at. It's a free 1 damage. Here's some 2/2s. Hopefully next turn I'm able to draw land. I can slam this Lyra, and as long as my opponent doesn't have a removal spell for it, this is just going to win the game on its own. And if I don't draw a land, I do have Adamant Will and Seal Away, both of which are pretty solid cards, and I'm going to be pretty happy with both. Whew. I do kind of like the way this style of deck is playing out. Just maybe this is like how you want to be. Just play a bunch of creatures and just put a bunch of big idiots into play. Well, that's nice. So I'm going to go ahead and play Lyra here. I'm going to tap my opponent's only creature. We're gonna get busy. Even if our opponent untaps and eviscerates this, that sucks, but we're just so far ahead at this point that it's going to be pretty hard to lose. I did notice I do have a combo with Trapper and Seal Away. Looks like our opponent does not have an answer to Lyra, so Lyra's just going to win the game. I'm not really super surprised at that. Lyra's a powerful card in Standard. Can't imagine what it's like in Limited when there's even less answers to it. I don't think I'm going to change anything. I think I'm pretty happy with how everything looks at the moment. Not really sure what I'm going to need. Our opponent's playing red-black, so maybe they just have a bunch of removal, and something like Llanowar Envoy is not going to be great, but Invoke the Divine is going to be good. It does kill the fact that we do not have a ton of creatures, but maybe that's okay. Maybe that's okay. Oh, I grabbed Invoke the Divine. That's not what I wanted. I can assume that it looks like removal is mostly at a premium, so maybe just setting up a turn will be able to keep one of my bombs alive is just going to be the best place for me. So I don't mind having another indestructible protection spell. Well, we're definitely going to mulligan this. We are on the draw. We do have 17 lands. We do have an Impulse in our hand. I think I am going to keep this hand. I am going to keep this land on top despite it not being a forest. Ooh, Memorial to Folly. Looks like return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. That's awesome. And there's no, like, downside to this, like sorcery. Oh no, our opponent got our only creature. We were going to go all in with the dub. I dubbed thee in my graveyard. Alright, well, Lyra is going to be a nice one at some point in time, as long as we don't get a blown out here. We are a tiny bit far behind, so I am going to seal away this if my opponent attacks. Alright. Well, it was a quite an unfortunate draw. Again, we want to draw some lands here for sure. Rampaging Cyclops. Ooh, there we go. Adventurous Impulse. I'm going to take a forest here, and the reason that I'm going to take a forest here is because Lyra is one of our best bets to win this game. And we still want to be able to draw a bunch of lands here as well, so we can be able to cast any of our spells. It's possible that I'm just supposed to take the 3/2 and then Gift of Growth it after I take some damage, but I think I'm just going to try and play it safe and wait a little bit. Skittering Surveyor. I do like that card a lot. I kind of wish I had one of those cards in my deck. I feel like this card is just really good in a slower format, but oh, Island is interesting. Perhaps that means my opponent has something like Syncopate in their deck. Maybe they have a blue creature that they're splashing for. I'm not really sure. Maybe they have a Blink of the Eye. Blink of the Eye is like a pretty reasonable tempo card. I'm going to be taking 4 here again for sure. Oh no. Oh no. Fiery Intervention. That's pretty good. Well, if I can draw a land here, this Lyra is probably going to win me the game. I did not. It's a little unfortunate. But we're still not out of it yet, by any rate. If our opponent use this removal spell, that's a pretty nice one. It means this Lyra is likely to live. I am interested to see what my opponent is doing, but I'm going to have to take 4 here again. And then I'm going to dub. The best thing to do would be to draw a land and hope my opponent has a burn spell as opposed to eviscerate. If my opponent has eviscerate, then nothing I can do will save it. I think it is very close, but I think I'm pretty likely to just play Lyra if I draw a land, since Lyra has the highest upside to just win the game. I'm very far behind, to say the least. Rona. Looks like our opponent's playing Rona. Okay, well, Shanna's pretty okay here. Don't really hate a card like that very much. Just having a bunch of blockers in play. I could also put a counter on and fight something as well, which is kind of nice. The other nice thing is I could double block this Rampaging Cyclops, and depending on how they block, put a counter on Shanna and fight something else and trade off pretty nicely. There are a lot of good options here. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have anything major here. Fiery Intervention. That's pretty unfortunate for me. It's pretty bad. What do I want to do here? I could put a counter on this and fight something that doesn't save it. Gift of Growth doesn't save it. I could Gift of Growth and block here. I think I'm going to do that. So I don't think my opponent's going to attack with either of these creatures. I think they're just going to attack with their 4/4. I do not mind trading here since I'm so far behind. Cool. And we drew a land, so that means if our opponent does not have a third Fiery Intervention or an Eviscerate here, this Lyra is going to take over the game. That's nice. That is nice if that happens. What is nice is that if our opponent doesn't have a removal spell here, we can actually Animus to fight something and just gain another 5 life. So that's kind of cool. We will see what happens here. But looks like our opponent's activating Rona. So this card's kind of interesting. I wonder if my opponent's playing this as a way to draw cards. Oh, looks like they have Jaya's Immolating Inferno. Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of unfortunate for me. That is not a card that I'm going to want to survive very much, and this dub is going to get my Lyra way out of the way here, and we're going to gain 16 life this turn. So I feel like I'm in a good position here, and I just can't let this Jaya's Immolating Inferno get out. My opponent untaps and plays that. It could be pretty dangerous. Now I just gotta hope to dodge Eviscerate for a little bit, but I've definitely turned the corner. So all I really need to do is just kind of ride everything out. We do have a 2-turn clock. Our creature has double first strike. I'm just going to play this 4/4 because, in case my opponent has something like the enchantment that makes you sacrifice a creature, I'm going to want something in play to protect myself. Whew, we did it. I won the match. That's kind of fortunate there. Opponent didn't really do anything in either game, and they kind of just died to my Lyra twice. So, turns out, if there's something to pick up from this, Lyra Dawnbringer. Very good and limited. So, I kind of want to review a little bit what I learned. I think that this card is not very good. I shouldn't have played it. I think I drafted pretty poorly, I would say. I was kind of focused on trying to play this, green-white creature deck. And, with something like Shalai, it's pretty easy to kind of go this path, especially when the ability is so good at creating all sorts of big creatures. But the thing is you don't really need that many creatures. It looks like once I just had like 1 or 2 kind of big dumb idiots, that it kind of really stopped what was going on until my opponent was able to draw removal. So removal's also at a premium. I've learned that too. Ancient Animus was kind of nice, but it's obviously not the greatest removal spell. It's just an okay one, but I'm always going to be happy to kind of have that card, I think, in all my green decks. So I think that's something that I like. Trapper is an okay card, but it's not great unless you have the ability to activate it. And we realistically did not have very many ways to activate it. Literally had 4 ways to activate 3 Trappers. That is not a good rate. Not very happy with that. Not very satisfied. So that's not really something that I'm going to be looking forward to. Obviously, the bombs are very good. Obviously, Shalai is great. Obviously, Lyra is great. Shanna was actually pretty impressive. And that kind of thing is going to happen very obviously if you can build your deck around it. And I think overall, I think my deck was kind of weak, and I feel pretty fortunate to be able to escape with a 2-1. We did get blown out by the blue-red tempo deck. Obviously, missing all of our white land drops in game 2 was kind of brutal. But I think that possibly just might be like how the game is going to go sometimes. And even so, our opponent had a lot of heavy hitting threats. They had a lot of really good tempo cards, and because of that, it's kind of hard to be able to battle back. And we do have a lot of weak creatures, so I think more or less that something like just playing green-white might be a little weak. I mean, obviously Shalai brings us into green-white, but you really want to be able to activate the Trapper, and I think if I'm doing that, it looked like black had a lot of reasonable legendaries, and it had a lot of sagas as a way to activate it. So I think Trapper might be better in a black-white deck than a green-white deck, and I think I just might want some big 3-mana idiots, like 3/3s or 3/4s or like 2/4s might be alright even. Corrosive Ooze didn't really do anything. It's just kind of like a 2-mana vanilla 2/2. So I feel like we might want to look at something better. Adamant Will was very impressive because, as I kind of mentioned, it seemed like removal was at a premium. And if removal is at a premium, then ways to protect your creatures are going to be very valuable. It also looked like the format was kind of slow. So that makes a lot of sense why the blue-red tempo deck might be good. Is because the format just looks kind of slow. Everyone's just kind of putting mopey creatures into play. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know on YouTube what you think. And I would love to, kind of go over this. I want to get ready for DC. I want to be in a good spot. So if you have any advice, you have any insights into the format, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, this has been Rudy Briksza with GatheringMagic.com, and I will catch everyone next time.